I'll expand Part 1, the vanishing into a more detailed 900-word section with simple English, a natural tone, and human-centric storytelling. I'll avoid using common AI-generated names and ensure it's appropriate for YouTube. The war room fell, silent as Admiral Junho Kim replayed the final transmission from the UES Nemesis. The holographic display showed Captain Jiwoo Park's face, her expression calm despite the alarms blaring in the background. "This is Captain Park of the UES Nemesis. We're experiencing unusual readings from the experimental FTL drive. Chief Engineer." Han believes... Static interrupted her words. When the image cleared, the bridge behind her was bathed in strange blue light. "Unknown energy signature expanding. We're attempting to..." More static. Her last words came through clearly. "If we don't make it back, tell my daughter I..." The transmission cut to black. Admiral Kim closed his eyes. The Nemesis had been humanity's greatest achievement, a warship designed not just to match the advanced alien vessels of the galactic hegemony, but to surpass them. Now it was gone, along with its crew of 300. "Play it again," he ordered, leaning forward as if he might spot something he'd missed the first dozen times. His aide, Lieutenant Nari Kwon, hesitated. "Sir, we've analyzed the transmission repeatedly. There's nothing more to..." "Play it again," Kim repeated, his voice leaving no room for argument. 3 days earlier, the Nemesis had been conducting a routine patrol near the contested Vega sector. Captain Park had been hand-picked to lead this mission, a decorated officer with 15 years of experience and a reputation for keeping her crew alive against impossible odds. The Nemesis itself was a marvel of human engineering, sleek, powerful, and equipped with technology that had the hegemony's representatives visibly concerned during diplomatic functions. It represented humanity's refusal to be treated as lesser beings in a galaxy dominated by older civilizations. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Captain Park gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered violently. Emergency lights cast red shadows across worried faces. "Status report," she shouted over the alarms. Tactical Officer Do Hyun Yoon's fingers danced across his console. "All systems fluctuating, Captain. Shields at 60% and dropping." Through the main viewport, space itself seemed to warp and bend. Stars stretched into lines of light, then swirled into patterns that hurt the eyes. Park hit the ship-wide comm. "Engineering, what's happening down there?" Chief Engineer Tai Hyun-han's voice came back breathless. "The new drive is creating some kind of spatial tear, Captain. The energy output is off the charts." "Can you shut it down?" "Trying, but it's not responding to commands. It's like something is pulling at us from the other side." Park turned to Science Officer Sun-Woo Lee. "Options?" Lee's normally confident face showed fear for the first time since Park had known him. "Captain, we're seeing readings that defy our understanding of physics. This could be a natural phenomenon or..." He paused. "Or something deliberately triggered." The ship lurched again, throwing crew members from their stations. A support beam crashed down nearby, narrowly missing Communications Officer Ji-hye Kang. "All hands, brace for impact," Park ordered, her mind racing through scenarios and solutions, finding none. She thought of her 8-year-old daughter Yoonha back on Earth, waiting for her return. The photo in her quarters showed a gap-toothed smile and curious eyes that looked just like her own. "Captain," Kang called out, "I'm picking up unusual transmissions. They're not coming from any known frequency, and they're not in any language our systems recognize." Before Park could respond, a blinding light flooded the bridge. She raised her arm to shield her eyes, feeling a strange sensation like being pulled in all directions at once. "Send emergency transmission to Earth Command," she ordered. "Tell them..." Reality seemed to fracture around them. Through the cracks, Park glimpsed impossible geometries and colors that shouldn't exist. The ship's hull groaned under stresses it was never designed to withstand. In her final moments before the Nemesis vanished from known space, Captain Park activated her personal recorder. "If we don't make it back, tell my daughter I love her. More than all the stars." Back on Earth, the disappearance of the Nemesis became the greatest mystery in human space exploration. Search parties found nothing but normal, empty space where the mighty warship had last been detected. At Hegemony, Headquarters on the neutral world of Centauri Prime, Ambassador Liak of the dominant Alvari species reported to the High Council. "The human warship has vanished, as expected," he said, his translucent skin pulsing with patterns that indicated satisfaction. Elder Merov's tendrils waved dismissively. "Was there any indication that they suspected interference?" "None. They believe it was a malfunction in their experimental drive." "Good." The Elder's voice rasped through vocal chambers not designed for human languages. The humans advanced too quickly. Their Nemesis vessel represented a concerning level of development for such a young species. This setback should contain their ambitions for at least a generation. Ambassador Liak's skin patterns shifted to show caution. "They will build another ship." "Of course they will," Elder Merov agreed. "But by then, our plans will be too far advanced for them to resist. The human problem will be permanently resolved." Neither of them considered an impossible scenario, that somewhere beyond normal space, the Nemesis and its crew still lived, and that one day they would return. I'll expand Part 2, Forgotten but Not Gone, into a detailed 900-word section with simple English, a natural tone, and engaging human-centric storytelling. Analyst Mina Song rubbed her tired eyes and reached for her third cup of coffee. The underground archives of Earth Defense Command weren't meant for comfort, just endless rows of data storage and the constant hum of cooling systems. Most of her colleagues avoided assignment here, preferring the gleaming command centers upstairs, where things actually happened. But Mina had requested this post. Down here, buried among forgotten mission logs and sensor readings, she could follow her obsession without supervision. Her screen displayed a star map, sprinkled with tiny red dots. Anomalous. Signals detected over the past 70 years, each one dismissed by automated systems as sensor ghosts or cosmic background radiation. Each one ignored except by Mina. Her grandfather had served with Admiral Kim, who never stopped believing the Nemesis would return. Before he died, the old Admiral had passed his notes to Mina's grandfather, who eventually passed them to her. 3 generations hunting a ghost ship. "You're crazy, Song," her supervisor had told her last week. "That ship is ancient history. Focus on current threats." Mina zoomed in on the latest signal, detected near the edge of the Procyon system. Unlike the others, this one had a distinct pattern. 3 pulses, then 2, then 3 again. She compared it to the encrypted signature of the UES Nemesis stored in historical records. It matched. Her heart raced as she ran the analysis 3 more times. Same result. This wasn't wishful thinking or pattern-seeking in random noise. This was real. Her fingers trembled as she prepared a report for command, knowing they would probably dismiss it like all the others. But this time was different. This time she had proof. In a place that wasn't quite normal space, Captain Jiwoo Park stood in what had once been the Nemesis's engine room. Now it looked more like something from a dream, familiar equipment merged with crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light. "The dimensional anchor is at 92% stability," reported Chief Engineer Tai-Hyun Han, his once crisp uniform now adorned with patches made from materials unknown to Earth science. A jagged scar ran from his left temple to his jaw, a souvenir from their first year trapped in this pocket dimension. "Will it hold this time?" Park asked, remembering their previous failed attempts to break free. Han nodded. "I believe so, Captain. The knowledge we've gained from studying this place has changed. Everything we thought we knew about physics." Park placed her hand on one of the crystal formations integrated into the ship's systems. It hummed in response, almost like it recognized her. After 3 years in this strange realm, the line between technology and something more organic had blurred. "And you're certain about the time dilation?" she asked. Science Officer Sun Woo Lee approached, his datapad displaying complex equations. "All evidence suggests approximately 20 years have passed in normal space for each year we've experienced here. If we return, we'll be facing a world 70 years older than when we left." Park turned away, moving to the viewport. Outside wasn't space as they knew it, but swirling colors and impossible shapes that human eyes were never meant to process. Early in their entrapment, several crew members had gone mad from staring too long at the view. Now everyone knew to look away, to focus on the ship and each other. "My daughter would be 78, Park said softly, "if she's still alive." Communications officer Jihye Kang placed a gentle hand on her captain's shoulder. Over 3 years, trapped together, the formality between officers had given way to something closer. They were more than crew now, they were family. "We've all lost someone," Kang said, "but we've gained something too. Knowledge no human was ever meant to have." Park nodded. The Nemesis had changed during their time here, studying the dimension, and the strange entities that occasionally made contact had allowed them to integrate technologies beyond human understanding. The ship's hull now contained elements that weren't on any periodic table. Its weapons could alter the fabric of space itself. Its shields could withstand forces that would have vaporized the original design instantly. "All hands to stations," Park announced over the ship-wide comm. "Prepare for dimensional transition." The crew of 300 moved with practiced efficiency. Despite everything they'd endured, the initial terror, the periods of hopelessness, the strange illnesses that came from exposure to this place, they were still a military crew, still professional, still human, despite how this dimension had changed them. In the mess hall, Tactical Officer Do-Hyun-yoon led a small prayer circle. In the medical bay, Dr. Jin-Soo Bae prepared for potential casualties during the transition. Throughout the ship, people touched lucky charms or whispered to photos of loved ones. On the bridge, Park took her seat in the command chair, worn smooth from 3 years of use. The familiar action felt like stepping into an old role after a long absence. For a moment, she was just a captain again, not the almost mythical figure she'd become to her crew in this strange exile. "Engineering reports ready, Captain," Kang announced from her station, science team standing by. "Tactical systems online." One by one, each section reported readiness. Park took a deep breath and gave the order they'd been waiting 3 years to hear. "Activate the dimensional anchor, take us home." The crystal formations throughout the ship pulsed with blinding light. The viewports showed the swirling chaos outside, solidifying into a tunnel of pure energy. The ship shuddered, systems straining as reality itself seemed to resist their passage. For a moment that stretched into eternity, the Nemesis hung between worlds. Then, with a final surge of power, it tore through the veil between dimensions. Ahead lay normal space. Ahead lay home. Ahead lay a galaxy that had forgotten them but would soon remember. I'll expand Part 3. The return into a detailed 900-word section with simple English, a natural tone, and engaging human-centric storytelling. Officer Tekla nervously adjusted the collar of his uniform as he monitored the sensors at Hegemony Outpost Procyon 6. His 6-fingered hands trembled slightly, not from the stimulant drink he'd consumed during his double shift, but from the fear of missing something. The Hegemony did not forgive mistakes. The sensor board lit up with unexpected readings. Tekla blinked his 3 eyes in rapid succession, a sign of confusion in his species. "Commander," he called out, his translator device giving his words a mechanical flatness. "I'm detecting a spatial anomaly forming at coordinates 227-189056. Commander Vask lumbered over, his massive frame towering over Tekla. "Natural phenomenon?" "No, sir. Energy signatures suggest—" Tekla's voice trailed off as the readings changed. "Sir, something is emerging from the distortion." The main view screen showed a swirling vortex of energy forming against the blackness of space. Lightning-like discharges rippled outward as a dark shape pushed through the distortion. Vask's facial ridges flattened against his skull, an expression of shock. "Magnify." The image zoomed in to reveal a ship of unmistakably human design, but unlike any human vessel on record. Its hull gleamed with intricate patterns of blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Where there should have been standard thrusters, strange crystalline structures emitted a soft glow. "Impossible," Vask whispered. "Alert Central Command, now!" On the bridge of the UES Nemesis, Captain Ji-Woo Park gripped her armrests as the ship shuddered through the final phase of transition. Warning lights flashed across every console, then settled into steady greens and blues. "Transition complete," announced Science Officer Sunwoo Lee, his voice tight with controlled excitement. "We've returned to normal space, Captain." A cheer erupted across the bridge. Officers embraced one another, some openly weeping. 3 years of exile, of fighting to survive in a dimension that defied human comprehension, and now they were home. Park allowed herself a small smile before raising her hand for quiet. "Status report. All systems functioning at optimal levels," reported Chief Engineer Tai-Hyun Han over the comm. "The dimensional elements we integrated are stable. Sensors are calibrating to normal space parameters," added Tactical Officer Do-Hyun Yoon. His console beeped. "Captain, I'm detecting a hegemony outpost nearby. They've spotted us." Park nodded. "Communications, open standard frequencies." Communications Officer Ji-hye Kang worked her console. "Channel open, Captain." Park stood, straightening her uniform, a habit from a lifetime of discipline. "This is Captain Ji-woo Park of the United Earthship Nemesis, returning to service after unintended absence. We request update on current situation and Earth status." The only response was silence. "They're scanning us, Captain," Yoon reported, "and they're transmitting on encrypted hegemony channels. I believe they're calling for reinforcements." "Let them," Park said calmly. "Meanwhile, access public data networks. I want to know what's happened while we've been gone." Kang worked quickly, her expression growing increasingly troubled as information flowed across her screen. "Captain, I've confirmed the date. We've been gone for 70 years, just as we calculated." She paused, swallowing hard. "I've accessed personal records as well. Your daughter Yoonha, she passed away 20 years ago. Natural causes." The bridge fell silent. Park's face remained composed, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped the edge of her command console. "She was 78, Kang continued gently. "She became a scientist, specialized in spatial physics. She never stopped looking for the nemesis. According to records, she established the Song Foundation for Deep Space Research before her death." "Song," Park repeated. "Did she marry someone with that name?" Kang nodded. "Yes, Captain. She has descendants, a grandson who serves in Earth Defense Command, and a great-granddaughter named Mina, who works as an analyst." Park absorbed this in silence, her mind filling with images of a daughter who had lived a full life without her, who had grown old still searching the stars for her mother. "Strategic update," interrupted Yoon, giving his captain time to process her personal loss. "Earth's position in the galaxy has significantly weakened. The hegemony has implemented restrictive treaties limiting human expansion. Our colonies on Tau Ceti and Epsilon Eridani have been abandoned following economic sanctions. Show me Earth's current military capability," Park ordered. The main view screen displayed a comparison between Earth's fleet 70 years ago and now. The difference was stark. Fewer ships, older technology, restricted weapon systems. "They've been systematically containing us," Lee observed. "Classic strategy, slow pressure over generations rather than direct conflict." "Captain," called out Yoon suddenly. 5 hegemony battle cruisers just dropped out of FTL. They're forming attack positions. Visuals. The screen shifted to show 5 massive warships, each easily 3 times the size of the original Nemesis, arranging themselves in a classic encirclement pattern. Their weapon ports glowed with building energy. "They're powering weapons but not transmitting any warnings or demands," Kang reported. "Standard protocol would require—" "They're firing," Yoon announced. Brilliant beams of energy lanced from the hegemony vessels, converging on the Nemesis from all directions. The bridge crew tensed, memories of countless drills and battles flashing through their minds. The shots struck the Nemesis and splashed harmlessly against invisible barriers that shimmered briefly, with patterns similar to those etched across the hull. "Shields holding at 100%, Yoon reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. "No damage. Return fire?" he asked, fingers hovering over the weapons controls. Park shook her head. "No, the hegemony needs to understand what they're dealing with, but we haven't come home to start a war." She paused, studying the enemy formation. "Tactical, target their propulsion and weapon systems only. Disable. Don't destroy." "With pleasure, Captain." The Nemesis moved with impossible speed, blue energy crackling along its hull as it slipped between the much larger hegemony vessels. Precise beams of light, not the crude energy weapons of 70 years past, but something far more advanced, struck, each battlecruiser in exactly the right spots to disable without causing catastrophic damage. In less than 30 seconds, 5 of the hegemony's most powerful warships drifted powerless, their crews untouched, but their vessels completely neutralized. Set. Course for Earth, Park ordered, returning to her chair. Maximum speed. As the stars blurred around them, she opened her personal console and quietly accessed files on her daughter's life. 70 years of birthdays, graduations, achievements, and heartbreaks that she had missed. They were going home, but to a home that had moved on without them, to a humanity that needed them more than ever. I'll expand Part 4, Revelations and Retribution, into a detailed 900-word section with simple English, a natural tone, and engaging human-centric storytelling. The conference room at Earth Defense Command fell silent as Captain Jiwoo Park finished speaking. Her uniform, modified with materials unknown to Earth science, stood in stark contrast to the standard military dress of the officials gathered around the table. Through the window behind her, the gleaming hull of the Nemesis was visible in orbit, its strange blue patterns pulsing gently against the blackness of space. Admiral Hyunjin Moon, the highest-ranking officer present, leaned forward. His weathered face showed the strain of recent days. The return of a legendary lost warship had thrown Earth's military and political establishments into chaos. "Let me be clear, Captain," he said, his voice steady despite his obvious shock. "You're claiming the hegemony deliberately sabotaged the Nemesis 70 years ago. That was an act of war." Park nodded. "And not their last." She pressed a small, crystal device on the table. It projected a series of documents and recordings into the air between them. While trapped in the anomaly, we encountered fragments of information space, pockets where data from our dimension had collected. Science Officer Sun Woo Lee stepped forward. "We believe the anomaly exists partially outside normal space-time. It contained information from both the past and what would be our future." A murmur ran through the assembled officials. "Among this information," Park continued, "we found these hegemony communications. They detail not just the operation to sabotage our ship, but a centuries-long plan to systematically isolate humanity before our technology could advance to truly compete with theirs." The holographic documents rotated, highlighting key passages. Halian text translated into flowing lines of Earth standard. "Their strategy was simple but effective," explained Lee. "Economic pressure, restrictive treaties, technological suppression, all while maintaining the appearance of peaceful cooperation." Defense Minister Ji-hoon Bae shook his head in disbelief. "This can't be right. We've worked alongside the hegemony for decades. Yes, the treaties have been restrictive, but they've claimed it's for regional stability." "Tell that to the colonies we've had to abandon," countered General Minji Choi bitterly. "Tell that to the millions of humans who've had to relocate because the hegemony suddenly declared their worlds ecologically sensitive or culturally significant." Park gestured toward the final document in the projection. "This is their endgame, scheduled to begin approximately 50 years from now. A coordinated effort to remove humanity from the galactic stage entirely." The room exploded into angry voices, accusations, and denials. Admiral Moon slammed his hand on the table. "Enough! Captain Park, your evidence is compelling, but what do you propose we do? The hegemony outguns us 100 to 1. Even with your single advanced chip, we can't wage war against the most powerful alliance in the galaxy." Park's eyes were cold. "With respect, Admiral, the Nemesis alone could cripple the hegemony's military capability within weeks. We've already demonstrated that their most advanced weapons can't penetrate our shields, while our own technology can disable their ships without destroying them." "And then what?" challenged political advisor Subin Kang. "We'd still have to live in this galaxy with them and the dozen other major powers who would see us as dangerous aggressors." Park looked around the room, studying each face. Some showed fear, others anger. A few, mainly the older military officers, showed something closer to hope. "I'm not proposing war," she said finally. "I'm proposing we change the balance of power, force a renegotiation from a position of strength rather than weakness." The debate raged for hours. Some officials wanted immediate military action. Others advocated for revealing the evidence to other galactic powers to isolate the hegemony diplomatically. A few even suggested keeping the nemesis hidden while Earth built more ships with its advanced technology. But Earth's leadership remained divided, paralyzed by indecision and the weight of potentially changing humanity's place in the galaxy forever. As the meeting adjourned without consensus, Admiral Moon pulled Park aside. "Give them time," he urged. "This is a lot to process." Park's expression hardened. "Time is the one thing we don't have, Admiral. The hegemony knows we're back, and they know what we're capable of. They won't sit idle while Earth debates." That night, Park stood alone in her temporary quarters, looking at old photographs of her daughter Yunha. Images of a girl becoming a woman, a mother, a grandmother, a whole life that had unfolded while Park experienced merely 3 years in the anomaly. A soft chime announced a visitor. It was Mina Song, her great-granddaughter and the analyst who had first detected the Nemesis's return signal. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about you," Mina said hesitantly. "She never stopped believing you'd come back." Park smiled sadly. "I wish I could have seen her again." "She knew you didn't abandon her," Mina said. "That's what mattered." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication. Mina's console lit up with alert codes. "Hegemony ships are moving toward 3 of our outer colonies," she reported, scanning the incoming data. "It's beginning already." Park's decision crystallized in that moment. She touched the communicator on her wrist. "All senior officers, return to the Nemesis immediately." "What are you doing?" Mina asked, eyes wide. "What I should have done 70 years ago, protecting my family." Park touched Mina's cheek gently. "Stay safe. Tell Admiral Moon I'm sorry, but we can't wait for committees and consensus." 3 hours later, the Nemesis broke orbit without authorization, vanishing into FTL before Earth's orbital defenses could respond. The next morning, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. A hegemony weapons research facility near Rigel, neutralized. A military shipyard in the Pleiades cluster, its production capacity reduced to 0 without a single casualty. Command centers, communication hubs, fleet staging areas, one after another, strategic targets fell silent. The mighty hegemony, undefeated for 2,000 years, found itself facing an enemy it couldn't track, couldn't stop, and couldn't understand. An enemy that struck with surgical precision, disabling but never destroying, sending a clear message with each bloodless victory. Humanity would no longer be contained. I'll expand Part 5. A new balance into a detailed 900-word section with simple English, a natural tone, and engaging human-centric storytelling. The diplomatic chamber aboard Harmony Station hummed with tense energy. Representatives from a dozen species filled the room, their varied forms adapted to different worlds and environments, yet all shared the same expression, uncertainty mixed with awe. They had gathered to witness something unprecedented, the hegemony, dominant power in the galaxy for 2 millennia, forced to negotiate as equals with humans. Captain Jiwoo Park stood with Earth's delegation, her modified uniform drawing curious glances. 2 weeks had passed since the Nemesis began its campaign. 2 weeks of precise strikes against hegemony military assets across 50 star systems. Not a single life lost, but the message had been unmistakable. The hegemony High Speaker Zhou entered with his delegation. His elongated frame moved with deliberate grace, forearms clasped in formal posture. Where once his kind had regarded humans with barely disguised contempt, now his compound eyes darted nervously toward Park. "We recognize the representatives of Earth," Zhou announced, his translator giving his clicks and whistles a melodious quality. "We come prepared to discuss new terms for human integration into the galactic community." Admiral Hyunjin Moon, leading Earth's official delegation, nodded formally. "The people of Earth welcome this opportunity for revised understanding between our civilizations." The diplomatic dance began. Proposals and counter-proposals flowed across the central table. Territorial boundaries, trade agreements, technology sharing, all the elements that had previously been tilted against humanity were now open for renegotiation. Park remained silent through most of it, her presence alone serving as a reminder of what had forced this meeting. Occasionally she would catch Mina Song's eye across the room. Her great-granddaughter had been included in the delegation as a technical advisor, but Park knew the real reason: to keep a family connection close during this pivotal moment. As the negotiations progressed, Park's attention was drawn to her tactical officer's discreet signal. She stepped away from the main table, moving to a quiet corner where Do-Hyun-yoon waited with a portable console. "The Nemesis is detecting unusual fleet movements, Captain," he reported quietly. "Hegemony battle groups are converging from multiple sectors." Park's eyes narrowed. "Toward Harmony Station?" "No, toward Earth." Across the chamber, she caught sight of one of the Hegemony junior delegates slipping out a side entrance. The timing was not coincidental. She returned to Admiral Moon, interrupting his conversation with a trade minister. "We need to leave, now." The Admiral frowned. "Captain, we're making real progress here. The Hegemony has just agreed to—" "It's a diversion," Park cut in. "While we negotiate, a Hegemony attack fleet is moving toward Earth. This was never going to be resolved peacefully." Moon's face paled. "How many ships?" "Enough to overwhelm Earth's defenses, even with our recent upgrades." "They're making one final attempt to eliminate the threat we pose." The Admiral turned to the Earth delegation. "Continue the negotiations. I need to consult with command." He followed Park from the chamber, his formal diplomacy giving way to military urgency once they were out of earshot. "Can the Nemesis reach Earth in time?" Park nodded. "We can, but even the Nemesis has limits against an entire fleet. This will require something we haven't attempted before. What do you need from me?" "Your trust, Admiral, and your authority." Moon studied her face, the face of a woman technically younger than him, but who had become a legend in his lifetime. A captain who had returned from the impossible with the power to change humanity's fate. "You have it," he said simply. The Nemesis dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Sol system. Through the viewports, they could see the blue jewel of Earth in the distance, and between them and home 50 Hegemony warships in attack formation. "They've deployed their entire regional fleet," Science Officer Lee announced. "Capital ships, destroyers, fighter carriers, everything." Park took her position in the command chair. "Open a channel to the Hegemony flagship." The main screen flickered to show High Commander Azoth of the Hegemony forces. His scaled face showed no emotion, but his voice carried unmistakable menace. "Captain Park, your unexpected return has caused quite the disruption. I'm afraid we can't allow it to continue. Stand down your fleet, Commander. There's no scenario where this ends well for you." A sound like grinding stones emerged from Azoth, the Hegemony equivalent of laughter. "One ship, Captain? Against 50? Your arrogance is remarkable even for a human." Park didn't bother to respond. She simply cut the transmission. "All power to the dimensional drive," she ordered. Chief Engineer Tae-hyun Han's voice came over the comm, concern evident. "Captain, we've never attempted to create a controlled field of that size." "The principles are the same," Park replied. "Just on a larger scale. If we miscalculate, we could tear a permanent hole in space-time or pull the entire fleet into the anomaly with us." "Then don't miscalculate, Chief." Park's voice softened. "I trust you, Tae-hyun. We all do." Throughout the ship, the crew prepared for what might be their final mission. Some touched photos of loved ones, others said quiet prayers, all moved with the precision and focus that had kept them alive in the anomaly for 3 years. "Dimensional. Drive at maximum capacity," Han reported, his voice steady despite the strain. "Field parameters set. Hegemony fleet is launching fighters," Tactical Officer Yoon announced. "First wave of missiles incoming." Park nodded. "On my mark, engage." The Nemesis's hull blazed with blue energy, patterns shifting into new configurations never before seen. The crystal structures integrated throughout the ship pulsed with blinding light. From the Nemesis, a wave of energy expanded outward, not destructive, but transformative. It washed over the Hegemony fleet like an invisible tide. When it receded, the 50 warships remained exactly where they had been, but they were dark, powerless, drifting. On the Nemesis bridge, the crew stared in awe at what they had accomplished. "All Hegemony vessels have been phase-shifted," Lee reported, checking his instruments. Their energy systems exist slightly out of sync with normal space-time. They're effectively neutralized until we reverse the process. The crews? Park asked. Unharmed, but likely very confused. Communications officer Ji Hye Kang looked up from her console. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from Earth. They're cheering. 1 month later, Captain Park stood in a quiet garden on the outskirts of Kyoto. Cherry blossoms fell around her like pink snow. This had been her daughter Yunha's favorite place, according to the journals Mina had shared with her. Footsteps on the path announced her great-granddaughter's arrival. Mina Song carried a small wooden box. The new treaty was ratified this morning, Mina said. Full sovereignty for all human colonies, unrestricted expansion rights, and a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. She smiled. The hegemony representative looked like he was swallowing something sour the entire time. Park nodded, her gaze still on the falling blossoms. And what happens next time? When another power decides humanity is a threat? That's why we need the Nemesis. Why we need you. Park turned to face her great-granddaughter fully. The Nemesis doesn't belong here anymore. Neither does its crew. We've seen too much, become too different. You're leaving? Mina's voice caught. But you've only just returned. Not forever. Park nodded toward the box in Mina's hands. What's that? Mina opened it to reveal a small crystal pendant, similar to the technology now integrated throughout the Nemesis. Grandmother made this before she died. She said it was based on her theories about where you might have gone. She believed it would resonate with whatever might be left of you if you ever returned. Park took the pendant gently. As her fingers touched it, the crystal glowed with the same blue light as the Nemesis. A perfect match, created by a daughter, who had never stopped searching for her mother. There are other worlds out there, Park said softly. Other species facing the same oppression humanity once did. The knowledge we gained in the anomaly, it wasn't meant just for us. Mina nodded, understanding in her eyes. When will you go? Soon. But we'll return. This is still home, no matter how many years pass. Park embraced her descendant. Tell them we'll be watching. Tell them we'll come when needed. 1 week later, the Nemesis departed Earth orbit, not as an instrument of vengeance, but as a guardian of balance in a newly reshaping galaxy. As it accelerated toward the stars, its hull blazed with blue fire, a beacon of hope to the oppressed and a warning to those who would become oppressors. The lost warship had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same.